At this point, I'm starting to feel bad for the people that were buying up and then holding a bunch of different social media stocks, hoping that they were going to pump and then go to the moon. I know that there's a lot of people out there that were thinking that. Hell, even I was thinking of picking up some shares of Snapchat a couple of months ago because I thought that it was going to pump up past $100 per share. Plus, I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to social media, so my whole appraisal of this stock might be off. But I think that Snapchat is one of the hotter social medias out there, and I think it's a little bit undervalued. I know a few Zoomers, and it seems like they spend more time on Snapchat than anything else. Plus, it is one of the few social medias left that aren't owned by the Zuckerberg. So that's a plus in my book, at least as much of a plus that any social media can have. But anyway, let's just take a look at these charts. So Snapchat obviously is way down. They're getting a bit of a pump today, so I don't know, maybe a bunch of people are buying into Snapchat today. Maybe I should do that too. Twitter is also having a very rough go of things. Meta, so just did a video talking about this. They're obviously having it really, really rough right now. I know a lot of people call these social media companies like Facebook too big to fail because their market cap is so high and they own so many different entities, but sheesh, your stock price is fucked up. Your company is under investigation. Their new business model is taking over the metaverse, and the leader is still a robot. Or is he an alien? I forget which one it is. But I don't know how much longer this is going to last. If people actually do decide to reject the metaverse, then I think the Zuck is fucked. And even Pinterest market cap is down, I think, like $33 billion since April of last year. Now, I don't know anyone who actually uses Pinterest, and I'm not even exactly sure what Pinterest is used for, but its stock price is plummeting. And I also think that Reddit is supposed to IPO next month, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be very interesting, seeing what happens to their stock price as they get listed on exchanges during one of the roughest quarters that social media has been having in a while. Now, if you're holding stock in any of these companies and you're wondering what's happening to your portfolio, well, you have the world's most valuable company to blame, Apple.
You've really put a big investment in our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim. Apple.
You see, Apple has made a lot of changes in iOS 14, and one of those was to add in this thing called App Tracking Transparency. So now, when you use Instagram or Snapchat or WhatsApp on your iPhone, you'll get a notification that pops up asking if you want to allow Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever to track you. And of course, most people say no, which proves a point that I've been making for years now, longer than since I've even been doing YouTube, which is that people actually don't want to be tracked. People actually do want online privacy. They just don't want to do a whole lot of work for it. Back when I was learning about how a lot of this technology that we use works, the programs, operating systems, computers, the internet, and so on, I started realizing how much of it was being taken over and how much of it had these tracking traps set, how much it was overrun with ads and trackers. Like first, you could just install an ad blocker in your web browser and then things would be pretty good. But then Microsoft started putting ads in the start menus, and then it's like, damn, okay, the whole operating system has to go in the trash now. We've got to find something different. And I was learning these things to work in IT around the same time that the Snowden leaks happened, which for a lot of people just confirmed what we already thought. I know that growing up, my uncles were always telling me how much information the feds can get on you, and they never wanted to talk about things around phones or any kind of electronics because they knew from their own dealings with the federal governments and authorities and people like that. But the Snowden leaks confirmed all of this, that the government is tracking everything that we do as well, and that they are colluding with these corporations to spy on us. The corporations, of course, they're in it for the money. So many of these big tech companies make a whole lot of money off of data about you, either through targeted advertising by creating essentially a model based off of your interest and then using that model to calculate what products and services you like, even before you know that you might really like these services, which kind of brings into question, are you really buying the things that you want to buy because you want to buy them? Or is it because these companies are manipulating you into wanting you to buy these things? But that's really just advertising in a nutshell. And these companies can alternatively, or in addition to using this data, when they're done with it, they can then bulk sell the data about any group of people that is willing to pay for it. You want to know statistically what kind of beer redheads in South Boston prefer to drink? Well, I bet you Facebook's got that data, and they're willing to sell it to you, so long as you got enough cash for it. Now, the government, of course, they want to act like an all-seeing eye, and they want to be an all-hearing ear. This wasn't really possible to do before. The technology just wasn't there for governments and especially totalitarian governments to do this. The best that they could do is they could use something like a secret police force that would infiltrate and try to find anybody that was trying to go against the government, or better yet, they could have the government pay people to sell out their friends or family who are engaging in wrongthink or who are enjoying some kind of forbidden thing that the state tells you you're not allowed to have, just like what happens in countries like North Korea. If somebody is caught watching a Westerner TV show, if one of their cousins or their mom or their uncle sees them, they might very easily just rat them out to the government so that they can get a little bit of money. Or maybe the government is extorting those people already. Maybe they have another relative that's in jail. It could be one of their children, and they have to decide, okay, do I want to rat out my uncle in order to free my son? It's a pretty tough decision to make, and you can understand why some people are willing to make that decision. But these days, we all have the tracking devices in our pockets, and we voluntarily gave these corporations and the government access to our locations, access to our photos, our contacts, our microphones, our camera lens, and everything else that these smartphones are capable of, just so that we could do what? Post a selfie, or so that we could FaceTime with somebody. Now, of course, more complicated solutions exist to enjoy technology in current year while minimizing your exposure to this tracking and all of the negativity that comes with it. And of course, self-discipline still is needed with these social medias because they're designed to be highly addictive. So you need to have that discipline to just limit yourself to a couple of hours of screen time max per day. And then, of course, make sure you're going outside to touch grass, or I guess touch snow if you're living in the northern hemisphere. But as far as minimizing exposure to the tracking, it always required you to do some kind of work. I mean, hell, the majority of the content on this channel is really teaching you how to do this kind of work, but it requires you to install a different operating system, or it requires you to read a technical page, or even installing a browser add-on. Oh no, please don't make me do work to avoid the cyberpunk dystopia. Well, now Apple users can avoid a lot of that tracking just with the tap of a button. And it seems to be working. I mean, there's not much more verification that can be done on how much Apple's app tracking transparency actually does block the tracking, because of course it's absolutely proprietary. But if companies like Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and Snapchat, if they're all losing money because tracking users is their business model, and a good chunk of their users are blocking this at the operating system level, then clearly ATT works. At least as long as Apple wants it to work, because of course with proprietary software, which is what iOS is, the software controls the user instead of the user controlling the software. So like I said in the last video, Apple, it'd be really cool if you shared the sauce with us. Like and comment to hack the algorithm. Have a great rest of your day.